So, Noam Aloha, everyone. Welcome to the live stream. And you can put down your name and where you're logging in from if you want, and your human design type if you feel called. Okay. So let me share the my screen here. There we go. So I was meditating on how to best serve everyone, and the transits are great and everything. But I really feel called to go a little bit deeper, right? To some real issues that aren't being covered on YouTube. Well, by me, right? By me. And yeah, so today I just want to delve into this one of the centers in the human design system. So you want to get your chart if you haven't already received your chart, and you can go to jovionarchive.com and get your free chart. And it's always in the link is in the information box for me. And so also if you have a question we're while I'm moving forward, is to just put question and then the question, and that will be faster for me when I scroll down and not be reading everyone's conversation. Okay, so this is the center of willpower, our willpower, according to the human design system. So you can see there's only four gates here, and each one of them, because there's collective circuitry, it's called collective circuitry, individual circuitry, or tribal circuitry. So this center of willpower is very tribal. So it's got three channels that are tribal. So this 4037, which you know if you've been following my channel, is going through a huge mutation. The 2644, that's tribal. And then the 2145 is also tribal. And the only individual channel here is this 5125. Okay, so let's get into it a little bit here. And so just to put it in context, because I'm a projector, I'm all about context and seeing patterns. Also talk about, if you want to write down in the comment section, like any issues you're coming up with, self-esteem and self-worth and self-value, which makes sense because Uranus is in the archetype of Taurus, and also the North Node is in Taurus too. So the archetype of Taurus is all about self-value, and this is what we're the karmic axis, right? The North Node is where we're being called to go, the lessons. So these are really lessons in power, right? Lessons in power that we're going through right now, and we're reclaiming our power, our individual power. So, as a collective of humanity, remember that we're going through a huge mutation and evolution right now, and we're heading into the cross of the sleeping phoenix, and that gets activated in 2027, and that will take us to 2438. Right, so it's a long cycle. So this is the frequency of the planet is going to change and shift, and this in turn will motivate humanity, will drive humanity in another direction, in a sense. So what's happening for the cross of the sleeping phoenix? We're already seeing the cross of planning. That global cycle is breaking down, right? Preparing for this new cycle to come in. And this means traditions and institutions are breaking down. We're seeing that, like little g and the medical system, and we can't rely on little g. People are really realizing that now. They can't rely like we used to. Our medical system, our educational system, all those marriage, the institution of marriage, all these tribal traditions are breaking down. And is it wrong? You know, people are out there freaking out. It's not wrong because it's just part of our evolution, right? It's part of our evolution as a humanity. So this means tribal consciousness. Remember, I said individual consciousness and collective consciousness? Those two are staying, but tribal consciousness is breaking down. So tribal consciousness is based on the bargain. You do this for me, right? You do this for the tribe, and then the tribe does this for you. You go and get educated, right? We'll provide the tribe. Look at it this way, right? The tribe will provide. You're born. The tribe will provide you with a sense of identity, right? The tribe will provide you with an education. You go to school, primary school, till the end, and maybe you stay longer and you stay in university. The tribe will provide you with a job and an education. The tribe will provide you with a religion, something to begin to believe in, right? The tribe will provide you with a culture and a sense of nationalism, whatever that is, right? Then you have your job, and so you work this long, you exchange your time and energy, and the tribe is going to pay you. It's going to give you a paycheck, and then you can take care of your needs, and your family's needs. And then at the end, you get your retirement, and then you go off into the sunset, right, for your life. Well, all this is breaking down. People aren't going to be motivated to do this anymore, to support each other in this sense of the word. So it was really, to me, it was really about supporting, propagating the species, basically, right? So these support networks, so that we could have as many humans on the planet, diversity of the gene pool, right? So that we can go best through this huge mutation that we're going to be going through. So this support is ending, right? This ending. So just bring that in, and you know that if you like tune into yourself and go deep within, it's like, yes, we're really being called to become more self-reliant. So that individual consciousness is really important, and that's authenticity. We have to be our authentic self. So there's a pressure. So let's just go back to here, just for the people that don't know. So if this is colored in, right, that means it's defined for you. If this center is colored in, it's defined for you, and it means you've got one of these channels, either the 4037, the 2145, or the 5125, or the 2644. At least one of those. And that will color this in, right? So we've got 3 tribal consciousness channels that are breaking down, right? That are breaking down. So if it's open, if it's not colored in, it means it's undefined for you. Okay? So then that means it's open. So back to the cross of the sleeping phoenix. Well, there's a pressure, right? So it's not colored in. There's going to be, if you have this, there's a pressure on the people with the open power center to prove their worth in order to survive this uncertainty that we're in. So the ones with an open power center are going to really feel this pressure. I've got to prove myself. I have to show people that I have a contribution to make. It's deep in our DNA, right? We've got to stay in the tribe in order to survive. If we were kicked out of the tribe, right, it was certain death. We couldn't survive just on our own. So we're facing this ancestral fear, right? So just the numbers kind of change and shift wherever you go. JovianArchive.com is keeping track, because the latest statistic I saw was over 40 million charts, right, that people signed up and got their charts. So 40 million people at least know about human design. They know what type they are, at least. But they're not really keeping track of the centers, like how many people have an open center and how many people have a closed defined center. But the last statistic I saw was 70% open, undefined willpower center, and 30% are defined and colored in, right? So 70% of the world. And so basically this means that if it's defined, you've got a consistent access to willpower. Your sense of power is consistent. People who have an open, undefined willpower center, they don't have a consistent sense of willpower. It's there and it's not. It's there and it's not. So 70% of the world are out there trying to prove themselves. So that means that they're trying to be someone that they're not, right? It's inauthentic. And remember, authenticity has all the power now. That's your power, is in your authenticity, not in being someone that you think that you should be in order to survive. So this is this pressure. So of course we're in the entering the Aquarian age too, according to yogic teachings. So that means it's not going to be rewarded anymore because it's not real. This is the age of truth that's coming, right? The age of truth. So anything inauthentic isn't gonna work for you anymore. So this is the fear, right? Is that I'm not enough. I'm not enough if you have this. So what I titled this live stream, right? Nature and nurture. Well, it's kind of both, and I'll explain why, right? So this is your chart. This is your original self. So this is like your design. So I'm not enough, and it's a fear of lack. So let's go back to this, right? And we'll talk about the conditioning field. We live in a conditioning field. We have for thousands and thousands of years. And this conditioning field pulls us away from our authenticity, right? Our authentic self. It's about our survival, right? It was about our survival. It served a purpose, right? To be conditioned actually saved us as a species, that we're all on the same page. But now it's a detriment, right? It's a detriment now. So if you come across here's how the conditioning field works, okay? Your chart, you've got an open willpower center, right? You come in contact with somebody, just even another person, who has it defined, right? So what does this mean? You're the receiver, right? Any open centers in human design, you're the receiver, and this is the transmitter, right? If it's colored in like this. So only 30%, right, of the world. So say somebody's got a defined willpower center, then you're going to be conditioned. You're going to be, what does that mean? You're going to feel that other person's consistent willpower, and it's going to be really, really strong. So you're going to bring it in and you're going to amplify it. You're going to amplify it, right? And this is like thoughts that come up in the mind and the ego are going to be all about, I've got to prove myself to this person, right? It's really, really deep how this conditioning works. So it could be something easy as a lot of like really raw motivational speakers, they've got this defined, right? They have this defined. So somebody with an open willpower center will go to one of these seminars or whatever and get all wrought up with this person's willpower. Yeah, I'm ready to go. I'm ready. I'm going to do it. And then they leave the aura, right? That aura, and they actually feel themselves, and they don't have that willpower. It just completely disappears and dissipates, right? So if you're with somebody who's got this willpower, right, defined, and they're here to be disciplined, right? They're here to leave a big boot mark on the planet. They're here to prove themselves. They're here to prove themselves with a defined willpower center, not you if it's open. So they're super disciplined, and I go to the gym every morning at 6 a.m. It's great. I feel great. I've got so much energy for the rest of the day, blah, 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 because it's correct for them, right? And you've got the open willpower center, and you're taking in all their energy, and they're like, yeah. And this willpower person is saying, come with me. It's really easy. Just get up and we'll go and we'll do it. And you're like, yes, I can do it. And you feel like you can do it, right? Because you're feeling all that energy, all that power. Yeah, I'm with you. And then you leave them, and then you feel yourself, right? That it's not correct for you, right? It's not correct for you, and there's no willpower there. And what happens? You start to feel like a failure, right? You start to feel like why can't I be like this person? Right? With all the willpower. Why can't I be like them? Why do I always fail at this? Right? Because it's not you. It's not you. So you've got to watch your mind, right? You've got to really be vigilant right now. And your authenticity is to watch that mind. And your mind is going to give you lots of information about what conditioning field you're under. Because I have an open willpower center myself, and I know my mind really, really well right now after years and years of meditation. is so I'm aware of what's going on in my mind. I'm aware of what's going on in my body and my energy when I'm in the aura of other people. And if I start to have those thoughts, oh, I should tell them what I do. Oh, I've got to chime in on this too. It's like, and I'm watching my mind, right? And I can do charts on the fly. So I'll say, can I get your data? Boom. 10 times out of 10, they've got a defined willpower center. And it's like, oh, now I don't even need to know. I just know now I'm under a conditioning field. It's not me, right? So it's about holding that back, right? Holding that energy back. Like that's inauthentic. It's pulling you away from your authenticity. It's pulling you out of your power. Right? So it's I'm not enough. That's the mantra for when the ego is in there. I'm not enough. And there's a fear of lack. There's a fear of lack because this is very connected to the material realm, right? This willpower center is connected to the material realm. And you'll accept less of everything, right? Less money, less love, less happiness. So you got two people, one with defined, it's colored in, the other one's open. They got the same qualifications, let's say, right? They went to the same schools, same intelligence. It's all equal in that sense. They go to apply for the job. The one with the open willpower center will always accept less than the one with the defined, right, willpower center. So I really see this as a root, like a real root to something that we need to uncover for for this great transition that we're going through right now. And Pluto, right? Pluto's coming into an Aquarius for a little couple months on March 23rd, and Pluto's all about power, right? So we have to let this go, this lack of self-worth, lack of self-value. So let's look at what the ego says here, right? So this is the undefined, right? The undefined. So the ego is the not self, right? So a lot of people, if you're into human design, you know that Ra calls this the ego. I find that it's too confusing, right? So it's really the willpower center. It's the willpower center. So here's what the ego, the not self, that's what the mind, that voice in your head that you think is you. I've just given it a form as worm tongue, so you can differentiate that that's not me, right? This isn't me. This is just this voice in my head that's pulling me away from my power. That's pulling me away from my authenticity. So what's he saying? Like make promises that you can't keep. So making big promises, that's not for you if you have an open willpower center. Be productive, right? Evaluate your self-worth based on all the ticks off your to-do list, right? Here's what I used to do, have the to-do list. I would even add to my to-do list to put things that I did that I didn't even write. I didn't write down. So just had to have that sense of this is the not self, that sense of accomplishment. Look, I'm worthy. Look what I did today. I can justify my existence to you. I've been productive. I've been busy, right? I'm contributing to society. You think of ways to improve yourself. So it's like this obsession with improvement, right? So how can I improve my appearance? How can I improve my health? How can I improve my spiritual knowledge? How can I get more qualifications? It's never enough. There's always something, another carrot to be chasing, right? And willpower shuts down when you start to operate like this. Because remember, it's not like you don't have any willpower and you're like a rag doll, when it's open, but it's not consistent. It's not consistent. Sometimes it's there, sometimes it's not, right? So it's about trusting that. So the willpower shuts down when you're not operating as yourself correctly, then your willpower is completely going to shut down. And self-esteem, right? That we all have self-esteem, right? It turns into self-loathing and self-hatred because it's not flowing correctly. You're not being yourself, right? And when you move away from your authenticity, what you're saying is, I don't love myself. I'm not enough. I need to be compensating on that in listening to this ego, right? then I have to compensate. I'm not enough just as I am. So it can move into self-loathing, can move into self-hatred. So if you're in that space, you know you got to shift, right? The Aquarian age, right? The symbol for Aquarius are those little waves. It's not water, it's energy. You have to learn about energy, your frequency, and be empowered to know that you can shift it. Right? So what else is this ego, not self, when you're in a conditioning field, this conditioning field? Well, become someone you think they want, like become the chameleon. Oh yeah, I really like football too, or I really like that TV show too. Yeah, it's really, really funny. And it could be like a complete lie, right? So it puts you out of integrity because you're looking for their approval, right? When you're in that frequency of field of somebody who has defined willpower center, you want their approval, you want their validation, right? And how can I be of use to them, right? How can I be of use to them? So believe in lack and scarcity. Like, oh, I've got to compete and hustle and hassle, right? To get like crumbs, right? Crumbs, so I can be validated. So we'll go into like how this all gets created beyond the chart. So the basic fear is I'm not enough. And so symptoms that you're not operating correctly and you're swimming against the stream is digestive, because all of these rule physical parts of the body, right? So this is heart problems, digestive problems, and we're seeing a lot of this out in the external, right? People being their inauthentic self. It's like we're breaking away from that because the bargain's not there anymore. You're not going to be rewarded for being someone that you're not. Not really. Not spiritually. There's not going to be any power there. So let's look at the defined person that's colored in here, what the ego is telling them. Well, prove to me, this is what they're saying to the undefined person, prove to me that you're a good person, right? They're projecting on what they have to be doing. They're here to prove themselves, not you. Prove to me your loyalty. You can see that with the tribes, right? Put me on a pedestal, right? Think like me. Think like me, behave like me, dress like me, right? Prove. You have to prove to me your loyalty. Your loyalty. That's total tribal consciousness. You have the same power as me, right? And so you got to join me on my agenda, right? You can't work, 14 hours a day. There's something wrong with you, right? It's just this assumption that the other person just like you. There's no room for diversity in tribal consciousness because it's the group ego, right? It's the group ego. The one with the defined willpower center, I overvalue myself, right? I totally inflate myself, right? I deserve more than anyone else. And I'm all that in a bag of chips, right? That's what the defined willpower center person thinks of themselves, right? It's overinflation. Don't follow through on my words and promises, right? And they're here to follow their word. When they say something, they got to follow through. Also, their energy, that willpower center will start to shut down for them. And I'll judge you if you can't keep up with me, right? There's something wrong with all these people. Why can't they follow through on their commitments? Why can't they be like me, right? That's the one with and again, the fear, the deepest fear here is also I'm not enough. The deepest fear. So, so the open power center medicine, like, let's look at this. Well, information is not enough to transcend it. And I see this in the human design community. It's so mental because Ra was very, very mental, right? The founder of human design. The information is not enough because it keeps you up here, right? Remember, we're evolving into the emotional awareness system. It keeps us up here. There's no transformation there. It just stays there in the mental plane. It's like you're hovering. You're in an airplane and you're hovering. You can never land. You've got to go into this emotional awareness, right? So the information is not enough to transcend it. It's not enough to transcend it. It's not going to go away, right? And don't we want it to? We're here to transmute these energies, especially these victim patterns. So the not self identity has to dissolve. So let's look at this. So the self identity, because it's an identity, has to dissolve. That's how you transmute it. It has to dissolve. So this false self gets created in childhood, right? We're evolving through the emotional body. The false self is created. These identities get created in childhood. And this is emotional body work, right? So let's break that down here. Okay, so you've got your chart, right? But you're going to attract, because your parents too were born and raised in the same system, the not self system. They were not encouraged to be their authentic self. And the beauty of us and our generation and younger, we have the tools, right? We have the tools. When they discovered Chiron in the 70s or even in the 60s, this whole self help movement start, this focus on self awareness, right? So it's not about blaming the parents, but it's just about breaking it down, like what the origins of it. So you've got your chart, and then you're going to attract a parent that's going to pull you into your inauthentic self because that's all they know, right? Here's how you survive. Here's how you stay in the tribe and survive is to be your not self. So the parent says you're not good enough in so many ways, right? That you come home with your report card and right, you got a B and your parent is like, why didn't you get an A? Like it can start with little things like that. You're being rambunctious and you're being yourself and you're being in joy, and children are like bombs, explosions of joy and creativity when you're around children that are in healthy environments, right? So you got a parent like that, that's too much, right? You got to quiet down. You can't take up so much space, right? You got to be miserable like me, right? It's triggering my blocked emotions from childhood. So whatever it is, right? But the message is you're not good enough as you are, right? So, and in turn, it's saying, I do not love you for who you are. I do not love you for your authenticity. That's the message that's sent to the child, right? And remember, I talk about this the currency for the child is unconditional love. That's all the child wants. The child doesn't care about toys and sugary cookies and all that other stuff that parents give children. They care about unconditional love. Am I receiving unconditional love? That's their food, right? That's their currency. So it's about conditions, right? So that love, that currency is coming with conditions. And it's not real love anyway, right? So what the parent is saying, you must create a false identity and I will give you love in air quotes. And it's not real love because it comes with conditions, right? But this is all the child knows. So emotionally, this creates a block in the flow of energy. And this gets trapped in that 0 to 7-year-old, right? The pathway of awareness that we're moving through now for the cross of the sleeping phoenix in the Aquarian age as we're moving back to the frequency, back to the vibrational. So we're moving from the physical, the mental, to the emotional, and these are where all the blocks are. And then this takes us into the frequency and vibrational. Right? So this gets blocked. That's what emotions are. It's just energy in motion, right? But it's energy in motion. This is authenticity, right? Your authenticity. It's always in movement, right? These emotions. And as soon as you're told you're not good enough, there's a block, right? A block gets formed. And then what happens is an identity gets created, right? At the same time, they come together. This false identity and this block comes, right? So it could be the rambunctious, extroverted child becomes the introvert, right? And quiet and doesn't take up a lot of space. A block in their fifth chakra. They're not being authentic, not speaking what's going on inside them, or being emotional is not okay. So suppress all those emotions. I don't have emotions, right? I'm just neutral. I've got it all together. Whatever identity gets formed, right? But it's false and it's trapped in the 0 to 7-year-old when the emotional body gets developed, right? So this follows us into adulthood. This false identity follows you into adulthood. So, right, you're using that false identity to try to get something on the external. And it's really this inner child that's trying to get that unconditional love. That's what it's really about. But this false identity could be like climbing up the social ladder, right? Marrying the perfect person, going to school and getting the top grades. It's like chase, 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 proving yourself. Look, I'm worthy of love. I'm valuable. That's what the message is, right? So it follows you into adulthood, this identity that was created in childhood, but it's connected to this emotional block, this emotional block. So the medicine here, right, is you got to stop proving yourself. So if you've got an open um, power center like that, it's like, okay, I'm going to make the commitment. I'm not here to prove myself. I'm not here to make big promises. I'm going to love myself as I am. I'm not going to be, fixated on improvement, improving myself. Doesn't mean that you stop, doing going to workshops and things like that and learning more about yourself, but it will be coming from a different place. It will be coming from the frequency of love, not this frequency of fear that I'm not enough, I'm not enough. And then to be self referenced. This is a big one, right, for the cross of the sleeping phoenix, because we're letting go of this 19, right? This 19 that comes off the root, and it's part of the ego circuitry too. The 19, and that's the shadow of codependency. So we're letting that go. We're letting that go. And that means not to be outer, because codependency is really about outer reference. It's being outer referenced. It's I'm letting them, whatever that is outside of me, tell me who I am. I want them to tell me how I should behave and what I should think, right? What I should be doing with my life, right? What beliefs I should have. That's all giving your power away to the external. So to be self referenced, that means to come from inside you, right? What's correct for me? I know what's correct for me, right? When you listen to your intuition and know your frequency, right? Does this feel like it's pulling me away from my authentic self? Or is it pulling me towards my authentic self? You'll feel it. It's inside you, right? That's to be big S self reference, not the ego referenced. Because even with the ego, this is outer referenced. Because the ego is outer to you, who you really are, right? As an eternal being, a spiritual being having human experiences. Even the ego and the mind are outer to you. They're not you. The inner is the self, right? The big S self. So that's part of the medicine. And to know yourself as divine, know yourself as divine, to feel that, open up to that experience of like, I am divine. I am divine. I'm not going to listen to my ego and the materialists out there in the world that say this is just all we are, is this body and these five senses, and we got a walnut in our head. No, we're much more than that, right? So to know yourself as divine, right? And then ask yourself, is the divine in infinity enough? Is infinity enough? Even that question, right, will set off a bomb. Of course, it's more than enough. It's infinite, right? That's what you are. You're more than enough. So this gives you the confidence to move through the world as a contributing member, right? As we enter into this cross of the sleeping phoenix, that you're here for a reason and you have your own unique gifts and talents. You have your own soul purpose. You're here to contribute something, but it's not going to be dictated from out here, right? The ego is not going to tell you what it is. The outer world isn't going to tell you what it is. Yourself, your higher self will tell you what your contribution is, however big, however small. It depends on your destiny and your dharma. And also to know this is a big one because the willpower center is very connected to the material realm, right? And it's you deserve to receive material and support and personal support in return. It's not based on this bargain anymore, right? We're elevating that into the divine law, right? We're moving from man's law into divine law. We're aligning more with divine law, right? So to know that, right? It's a whole other way of doing life, right? The Aquarian age, there's no hierarchy. That was the Piscean age. There was this hierarchy. Tribal consciousness is all about hierarchy. This is the Aquarian age. That's why I have so much faith in the Aquarian age, is because it's not centralized, right? Centralized power. There's no hierarchy there. It's the collective leading the collective, right? From a higher frequency. Of course, there's going to be that lower frequency version of that. But it's like, do you want that storyline or do you want this other storyline? You choose. Okay. So the gift, just to plug too with the emotional body work, my Phoenix program, which I'm still have reduced it, and I had to really tune in. Is this my open willpower center undervaluing my work, right? But I was like, no, I was tuning in. It was like, no, I want a lot of people to take this program, and I'm getting really, really good feedback. And this is about dissolving these identities in childhood. And this has been my motivation is leadership, right? Learning through trial and error, and then sharing that with others, what worked for me, what didn't work for me. And I've been at this since I was 18 years old, right? This whole inner child work. I went down a lot of dead end roads, but also went down roads that bear fruit. So that's what I'm sharing with this Phoenix program, right? So it's 6 modules. So check that out if like, yes, I'm really ready to let go of these identities, right? I'm ready to do this emotional body work. It's time, right? It's time. I'm getting the alarm bell. My higher self is giving me the call, right? It's time to get moving, time to get cracking with my work, right? So that you can really be a clear channel, a conduit for unconditional love, because that's what we all want, is to be a conduit for unconditional love. Okay, so let's look at the gifts, right? Because it always comes with a gift to have. So wherever it's open in your chart, that's your school, right? That's what your school is. And this is where your wisdom can come in, right? So you can watch people when you get to that. I'm not here to prove anything to anybody. I'm here to love myself as I am. Right? You'll be able to watch people are full of BS. They're full of BS. You're going to be able to hear it in their voice and just to know, right? Because you're going to have this wisdom. Is this person talking out of their, you know, I don't want to use foul language, but are they being sincere or not? Are they being authentic or not? You'll know. You'll know when they won't keep their promises. You'll hear some politician and you'll go, that person's full of it. They're not going to keep any of those promises. I can feel the frequency coming out of them, and it's so inauthentic and it's manipulative, right? So later video, because I feel like there's a lot to cover with this willpower center now, and so because I just started meditating on, there's a lot here. So I'll go into like these gates and shadows and gifts, and then the channels and how it all works together, so you have more of an understanding. So you're going to know when they're speaking purely from the ego and not from their authentic self, and you're not going to waste your energy going down dead end roads, right? Trying to prove yourself. And the thing is, maybe the person you're trying to prove yourself, maybe they're not even alive anymore. Maybe you've got a caregiver that died a while ago, and you realize and have the awareness, oh my God, I've been making my decisions trying to prove my worth to this person that's not even alive anymore. They're a ghost, right? They're a ghost. So, right, it's about getting clear on your motivation. What's motivating me right now? Am I trying to prove myself to somebody? Well, stop, right? And that's going to bring your energy back, right? And what does that do? Like I've used that bucket analogy, remember, for the shadow of compromise. He's going to plug up all those holes where you've been leaking your energy, trying to prove yourself. That's going to build your energy, right? It builds your power. You become more and more powerful. So you know your power. So you know your power, and you trust when it's available for you, when it's open like this. It's not consistent. Okay, it's available for me today. I can feel it and I'm going to act from that. It's correct for me, right? You'll know that. So you got to know your frequency. And then you're going to trust when it's not there. So it's really being in this flow, right? Because remember the cross of the sleeping phoenix, it's all about coming into the eternal now, right? Not going into this strategy, that leftness, right? We're moving from leftness to rightness, the variables from our recorded readings, coming more and more into the eternal, right? Into the eternal now. So yeah, we have to learn to be in the flow. You got to learn to be in frequency. Um, and then self love. Can't forget about that. This is giving yourself unconditional self love, not what the parent gave you, right? With the big ropes attached, but to actually give yourself, that's self love. And what is self love? Well, it's a frequency and it's coming from your higher self. It's not coming from the ego. The ego doesn't know what love is. All the ego knows is how can I get more? How can I get more? Right? How can I get more and more power? And the ego is being neutralized now for this new age of Aquarius, being neutered. It's not going to have the same power it did in the Piscean age. That's all dismantling and falling apart, right? So don't be listening to this ego. You got to go and get, and you got to change, right? It all comes with ropes attached. And as soon as you get something, the ego's on like, I got to get something else. It's never satisfied, right? But your higher self, right? That love that comes from the higher self it's always there, right? It's unconditional. It's unconditional. So it's about accepting yourself as you were designed, And that's why human design is such a great tool because it gives you a kind of a glimpse into like, oh, this is me. This is a compass. This is something I can hold on to, right? Not about limiting yourself and putting yourself into a box, but it's like a pointer. It's pointing you back inside to yourself, right? To your higher self. And then this means you don't get pulled into the rat race. Everybody else that have an open willpower center, right? Hustling and hassling and exhausting themselves, right? Control, the 21, the pride, right? The restlessness, trying to get. These are all the shadows, right? And what are they really looking for? They're looking for that love, right? When you start to do inner child work and emotional purification work, you really start to see the truth. It's like the veil gets removed and you start to see these wounded little inner children, right? In these adult bodies, and all they're looking for is love, right? And sometimes they're being mean and have bad behavior, right? It's like it's all about getting that unconditional love. Yeah. That they didn't receive as a child. And only you can give it. You can't, nobody else can give you that unconditional love. You've got to give it to yourself, right? Okay. Because if you got if you haven't done this work, then even a person with good intentions and they're like, I'm a conduit for unconditional love and I'm just going to give you unconditional love, you won't receive it, right? Because you won't feel like you deserve it, right? Until you see, you've got to do that work first. So just a reminder of the cross of the sleeping phoenix coming online 2027. It's about liberating your spirit, right? And that's this evolutionary process that we're going through, right? Solar plexus mutation, spirit awareness. This is all of our emotions are coming up to be purified, liberating your spirit and burning away what's not authentic to you. So any loss in your life, people leaving, jobs disappearing, whatever's disappearing from your life, to trust that it's burning away what's not authentic to me. It's not a match with my authentic self. And it's about learning to live as a soul in a body. What does that mean? What does that look like? for humanity, the ones that will be living as a soul and a body and living to your highest potential, right? Breaking out of these limitations, these ancestral inherited limitations, right? Following your own unique path and living your full vibration, living your full vibration in the present moment, right? It's going to completely change the world. Okay. So let me see any comments here. And then I just wanted to pull a card while everybody is here. Okay. Let's see if we got questions here. Okay. Hopefully that helped, Temple of Akasha. Okay. Okay. Nova Scotia. Rachel Reed, Robert. Manifester from Venice Beach. Yeah, every morning is different. At one time, it used to feel like Groundhog Day for me back in 2012, but now everything, it's because I feel so different every morning. That's defined. Okay. Okay. Yeah, and that's right. If you've got a defined willpower center, Rachel Reed, and you're dealing with issues of self-worth, you're definitely not operating as yourself. And you've got the channel of initiation. You're here to initiate others into the self, right? That 5125. I'll go into that because the 25 is the 20, I think the 25 is in Jupiter now. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that. Or it's left. Yeah, it's left. No, it's the moon's in the 21. That's where I'm confused. Is I'll go through the channels too, because that gives us a lot more information about this willpower center. Okay. And that's a blessing, you know, if you live with your parent, your primary caregiver from childhood, and you're an adult now, you're with the big kahuna. You can really, really use that. Right? So use that. She's just a mirror. If she's like spending most of her time resenting and criticizing you, just let her be. She's perfect. She's just the mirror. The family is just the mirror. It's showing you what work you have to do. Don't try to change them. You can't change the mirror. That's your job, is to reflect it back. And then you go inside and it's like, how does that make me feel to be criticized? Like, what's coming up for me? Maybe I'm angry, right? Well, then you let the anger be there and feel it, right? And feel it. And then you'll notice that because when you shift, the mirror has to shift. That's the law. That's universal law. You shift, the mirror shifts. So mom will shift, your mother will shift. And she won't feel that compulsion anymore to criticize and be resentful of you. It will just stop. It will end. And even if she does, maybe there's still a little bit of power there, right? It won't get in with you. You'll be like Teflon, you know? I speak from experience with my own family. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Well, and also Rachel too. Rachel's bringing up some good stuff here. The money lack, right? So it comes from inside. This is not a money problem, people. This is external. This is listening to worm tongue, right? Well, if I just have, like, there's no money in my bank account. I go to my bank account. There's no money in there. Well, the ego will say, well, you need to get a job, or you need to buy a lottery ticket, or you need to do something to get money, to go out and get. It's all about going out and get. When in fact, it's an internal problem. It's not a money problem. You got to reframe this now. It's like, it's not a money problem. It's an internal problem. And what is water, the element of water? It's connected to the emotions. That's why it's called currency, money, right? If there's a block in the emotional body, when you come against a block in the emotional body, well, it's going to be reflected in the mirror, right? And money can really bring up a lot of childhood stuff because it brings up fear, right? It holds the frequency of fear, money, on the external world, right? So it's to reframe it, right? There's no money in my bank account. Well, I feel like I don't deserve money. I don't value myself, right? It all goes back to childhood, and you'll be amazed when you do emotional work and then you go look at your bank account, right? Or so opportunities start coming in because there's room for them to come in it now, right? So it's just about showing you whatever you see out there is what's going on inside. There's lack. I'm lacking. I'm not enough as I am, right? And then just do that emotional work. And you've got your mom, Rachel Reed. You're blessed beyond, right, to actually have her in living with you, it sounds like. Okay. Okay, so I just want to pull a card while we're here. And let me know in the comment box if this is beneficial, if you like me doing this kind of content for you, so that I can have some feedback. Just pick a card here from the ego deck, the ego trap deck. It's all about reclaiming our power now. This time we have to be self-sovereign, which means we're the rulers of our own self. Okay. And it's growing up. That's why this inner child work is so important. We're becoming spiritual adults, completing our childhood so that we can really step into our power. Okay. So there's a lot of teachings out there about spiritual leapfrog, and it's not going to work. The emotional body is the doorway in to spirit awareness. Okay. What's the ego trap that people here need to hear? Okay. So this is like the gaslighting card. You know the gaslighting? You hear that with narcissism. Being gaslit, thinking that you're crazy. So this is, I don't think I heard that right card. So this is the ego, right? So intuitive guidance is coming through. That's your wisdom, right? Your wisdom. And then the ego tries to hijack that. The ego will try to hijack that. So let's get the ego up here, right? The ego will try to hijack that. So let's see. So the ego will talk you out of your intuition, right? You didn't hear that right. That was a figment of your imagination. It will want you, remember the ego always wants you looking outside yourself. It doesn't want you in your power, right? In your power, in your own inner guidance. So if you've got problems yourself, just to bring this back to my Phoenix program, if you have problems with guidance, like receiving guidance, right? Receiving guidance, not trusting your intuition, right? You're not trusting your own inner guidance, looking to others for guidance, maybe, or even reacting to other people. I don't want to do anything they tell me to do. I'm going to be the rebel, which is the low frequency rebel, is listening to this ego, which is because the divine tries to work through people, right? To get that message to you, to get a message to you. If a message in truth is coming through another person, that ego, this is the false rebel. I'm not going to listen to anything they say, and I'm going to project demon on them, right? They don't know what they're talking about. They're trying to manipulate and control me, right? You're completely not aligned with your higher self. While the ego will try to block it through the lower frequency rebel, or will say you didn't hear that right. Nah, that wasn't right. You're not supposed to leave this job or leave this relationship. You're really supposed. How are you going to survive? That's the trump card that comes out with the ego. How are you going to make money doing that? How's that all going to work out? The ego tests your faith, right? And you don't get the whole picture, right? The ego wants the whole picture. I want the safety net and how all this is all going to work out. I need the 5-year plan. I need the 10-year plan. I need guarantees. And the spiritual journey doesn't work like that. It's not certain, right? So we'll plant those seeds of doubt. But all your job is to be in the present moment, right? Listening to your intuition, making a baby step towards your intuition, that trust and faith, right? In the divine. So it's about, this card is saying, I know what to do. I've been getting the guidance. Been getting the intuitive messages, right? I'm afraid even to be honest, because gaslighting is about not being honest, right? Being honest with yourself. It brings up a lot of fear. My intuition told me that this is what I'm to do now, where the direction I'm headed into now, but I'm afraid. Even that, right? It allows that emotional body to start moving, right? Because you're being honest with yourself. So with the guidance, back to the guidance, it means you've got issues with your father, with your earthly father, and that's what it's show. That's all that it's showing you, because you've got a trinity inside of us. We have the father, the mother, and then the inner child. That's the divine child. When the wounded child heals, it transmutes in the divine child, right? So the father part is the guidance, right? Right. The nurturing part is the mother. It's the mother. If I'm not good at nurturing myself, well, you got to go to the mother. There's issues around the mother. If you got issues around guidance and receiving intuitive messages, feeling like I'm unprotected, I'm unsafe, I don't have the confidence to move through the world, I have money issues, then you go to the father. I still have some work to do around my earthly father, and all this is covered in the Phoenix program, right? The family stuff. So start to trust it. Start to trust your intuition. Don't push it away. Don't listen to the ego. I'm going to write it down and I'm going to trust. And it's taking a baby step. And I know that it's hard at first if you're not used to listening to your intuitive guidance. But it's just like, I'm going to make a baby step and another baby step and another baby step. And then the safety net appears with every step. But you don't get the full plan. It doesn't work like that. I feel like it's about a test of our faith, right? Because power is self-policing, right? So you're given more and more power as you move through these tests, right? These tests. And it's about a test of faith in the divine. It's like, okay, more power for them, that person, more power for that person, right? Because we can only be given so much. It would be too overwhelming for the ego, right? If we were given all our power at once. Okay. Okay, so that's what I got here. And thank you for everybody for joining in here. I think there's just so much to this chart, right? I don't know how long you guys have been at Human Design, but Human Design found me in 2004, along with Kundalini Yoga Meditation, and then the Gene Keys came quickly after that in 2004. But I became so enamored with this chart. I still am, right? It's just filled with so much mystery. And it's really for this time that we're in right now, right? And I always say this to people, that what's human design all about? I never go into the rat-tat-tat and the details and all that left brain stuff. In a nutshell, it's about learning to love yourself, right? Learning to accept and to love yourself. Yeah, that's all it is in a nutshell. Okay, so everybody have a good day, evening, wherever you are in the world, and be sure to to like and share, because that helps with the algorithm, and leave a comment too, right? And what you'd like to see, if you like this content or not. And I'll continue with my new moon and full moon readings too. Okay? Okay, take care, everybody. Satnam Aloha.